If you want to learn how to animate inside of After Effects, you are in the perfect place. I've made hundreds of animations as client works, and I'll package everything that I know about animations inside of this video right there. We'll cover 2D basics, 3D, and even AI. So let's get started.
What's good, everybody? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today I'm going to show you guys how you can master the 3D parallax effect while animating your album covers. So let's not waste any more time, let's dive into it. So first of all, you'll need to open Photoshop and simply try to separate the different elements in the album cover. So example, you have to separate the teddy bear from the background. So we're going to do all that. So first of all, you're going to select the selection tool. So I'm going to select this one. And I'm simply going to start with the bear. So simply just go all over him to select him correctly. So as you can see, I finished selecting the bear. So what you can do is simply copy it and paste it into another layer to separate it from the rest. And now as you can see, our teddy bear is separated. And now what you can do is simply clean up the imperfections just by selecting the parts that you don't want no more and removing them. So now that you separated the teddy bear from the original cover, what you can do now is simply hide the layer where you have your teddy bear right there. Select your original layer and simply select the teddy bear in the original layer. And what you're gonna do afterwards is simply delete it from the cover. So simply go ahead and click on generative fill, click on generate, and this will delete the teddy bear from the cover. So simply go ahead and right click on this generative fill layer and click on merge it down. Now what you can do is simply do the same for each and every single element in the picture. So I'm going to do the same for the caps right there, and I'm also going to do the same for this platform and the text. So I'm finally done with masking all of the other objects inside of my Photoshop project. So as you can see, everything is separated. So what you can do is simply save this project right there, and you're gonna have to open After Effects, create a new project, and what you're gonna do is simply select your PSD folder that you just saved and simply drag and drop it inside your After Effects project and just scale it down so it can fit into the composition. Now as you can see, every layers got imported into our After Effects project. But now the next step is to simply make it into 3D for this parallax kind of effect. So today I'm going to show off my 3D5 Pro plugin, which will simply allow you to make this 3D parallax effect in one single click. So all you can do is simply go ahead and click on create 3D camera and layers. This will activate the parallax effect. And it don't seem like much right now, but it got converted into 3D, as you can see. And in the UI, you can actually control the position of the camera, and you can also make the room size bigger or smaller. The room size is essentially just how far away the layers are from each other, like this. Alright, now let's say you want to add a little camera shake to make it a little bit more realistic. You can also do that. As you can see, we got a camera shake, and it's pretty good, but the background is kind of cropping out. So what you can do is simply select your background and click on expand selected layer, and here's your problem is fixed. Now what you can do is simply make a 3D camera animation movement simply by selecting your camera, creating a keyframe right there, going a bit forward into our animation, and simply just dragging the cursor like that. Alright. But I don't think it's the best way because it takes a bit of time to do right. So I got another plugin for that. It's called Automation 3D, and basically it's just a couple of 3D animations presets for the 3D camera. So just make sure to select your 3D camera and go in zoom in or any kind of preset you want to add it to your 3D camera. I'm gonna do a simple zoom in, and I'm simply gonna apply animation. This is going to create two keyframes right there, as you can see, and now I can simply make it last longer or shorter. As you can see, it don't zoom in enough, so what I'm going to do is simply play with the strength for it to be a bit stronger. I'm gonna also make it a little bit shorter, and I'm gonna apply easy ease simply by clicking on that to make the animation smoother. So just That I got a parallax animation effect just in a couple of clicks. And if I want to zoom out, simply just select the zoom out from the preset, click on apply animation, and that's what you get. But as you can see, the cover animation lacks a little bit of substance because there's no character animation, there's no background animation. I know you have probably seen these super detailed character animations, but you didn't know how to make them. But let me tell you that it's actually super simple, and I'm going to teach it to you today. So first of all you have to do is simply import your character or your picture inside of Photoshop. Now try to mask out your main subject. So I'm going to do just that. Once your subject has been selected, what you're going to have to do is simply click on Ctrl C, then Ctrl V to put it into another separate layer. So now what you're going to have to do is simply select your character with a rough selection. Just select around it like that. Now what you're going to have to do is simply click on generative fill right there and click on generate. This will essentially delete the character from the background. Alright, now you can merge it down with the main background, and as you can see, the subject is separated from the background. Now what you're gonna have to do is simply focus on the character. So before doing anything, you gotta plan an animation with your character. So what I want my character to do is simply move his hand, blink, and have their hair blowing away in the wind. So in order to have all of that in my animation, I'll need to have a separated layer of the arm, each strands of hair, and the eyes. And I think it will be enough for my animation. So now what I'm going to do is simply select the arm first. This is a rough selection, as you can see. Then I'm going to simply copy and paste it into another layer. And now what I'm going to do is simply complete the arm simply by doing a selection like this and clicking on generative fill. Okay, now so what you can do is simply put the layer underneath your character. So now when I want to move the end, it's gonna be seamless. Now what I'm gonna do is simply delete the arm from the original picture because we don't need it anymore. Now what I'm going to do is simply take care of the eyes for the blinking, and essentially what I'm going to do is simply take these parts right there, Ctrl C and Ctrl V, and now I'm simply going to extrude them like that. It looks weird right now, but we're going to polish it. So I'll take this stump tool, I'll just try to clean it up a little bit. Yeah. And with my brush, I'm gonna try to make some eyelids like this, and I'll duplicate this result for the other eye so it can look something like that. Right, and I'm simply gonna make the edges a little bit less harsh by simply putting the hardness of my eraser down and making it like that. So now I'll start working with the hair. So I'm simply gonna separate hair from the character. So it's the same process of separating the arm, but I'm gonna do this with each strands of hair. So I'll do it for this one, and then I'm gonna simply speed up the process for the other strands. So as you can see, I'm just simply selecting the hair like that. I'm duplicating it into another layer. See if the mask is okay. Then what I'm gonna do is simply go back to my original character and delete the hair from this layer. You can clean up the mess, and as you can see, you got one strand of hair that has been separated. Now just do the same for the rest. So once you're done with the separation of everything, what you can do is simply save your project and simply import it inside of After Effects. So import it like so. I'll simply just make it scaled up like this so you can fill up the screen. Now as you can see, all of your layers are right there, and now what you can do is simply start by animating your character. So I'll start with the end right there. So what I want to do essentially is to make it rotate like that, but as you can see, the rotation is doing some nonsense. So in order to fix that, what you're gonna have to do is simply change the anchor point's position. So simply click on that button right there, put the anchor point right there, and the rotation will be based off the position of the anchor point. So now the rotation is a little bit more natural. So if I played it with the old illustration, it looks a lot more smoother. So I'll just scale it up a little bit like that. Now I'm gonna simply pull out my keyframes for the rotation. So I'm gonna click on R, and I'm simply gonna add 2 keyframes, and at the first keyframe, I'm simply gonna put the end like that. Okay, so now I can simply select all my keyframes and click on F9, and I can simply loop this animation all over again. But I'm simply gonna keep it simple, so I'm not gonna do that. Now the next thing that I'll do is simply try to animate the eyes blinking. It might seem hard to do, but it's really not. So simply take an eyelid, as you can see, and then what you're gonna search for in the effects and presets search bar is liquify. Simply apply it to the eyelid. Now what you're gonna have to do is simply try to distort it into a natural lid shape that is not blinked yet, like that. And now with the distortion percentage, what you're gonna have to do is simply put it at 0 to make it blink, and put it at 100% to make it unblinked. So that's basically what you're gonna have to do in your keyframes in order to simulate a blinking animation. So click on this clock right there, then click on U. So now what you're gonna have to do is simply make 3 keyframes really close from each other, and at the middle of these keyframes, what you're gonna have to do is simply put the distortion percentage at 0, like that. As you can see, you got a blinking animation, but you can also put these keyframes a lot closer to each other for more natural blinking. Now you can simply spam it up all over your timeline. Now I'm simply gonna do the same for the second eyelid. Now what I'm gonna do is simply start with the hair animation. So I'm gonna take a hair strand. I'm simply gonna pick the pin tool, and then what I'm gonna do is simply put a pin at the root of the hair. Then I'm simply gonna add pins to the rest of the hair. Then I'm gonna go to Files, Scripts. Then I'm gonna run a hair rig script that is totally free. Link will be in the description. Simply go ahead and click on Run, and it will give you a cool hair animation. And you can also modify the way you want it to be, so you can change the frequency. So I'm going to put it a little bit slower, and I'm going to do this for the 40-second strand. So this is what it looks like without the final touch, but I'm going to add something. So what I'm going to do is simply pre-comp every single pieces of my character. So I'm going to simply select every single pieces and click on Ctrl-Shift-C. Then what I'm going to do is simply go ahead and puppet pin everything. So I'm going to start with the head, then with the rest of the body like that, and I'm going to make sure everything is really pinned like I want it to be. Okay, and now what I can do is simply animate my character with the pins to make it do some realistic movements. And as you can see, the character animation is done. It was really simple and easy to do. And as you can see, I made the things separately, but it's not a big deal. But you get the original idea. It was actually really simple and easy to do. Today I'm going to show you guys how you can animate hair inside of After Effects and Photoshop. So first of all, what you'll need to do is simply start by selecting the hair strands. So my favorite method to do so is simply by using this tool right there, the quick selection tool, and just by going into the hair strand. And I won't selection the roots, so I'm gonna delete that. I'll just pick this part, and I'm gonna go down there and try to pick the tip. Now what I'm gonna do with this is simply copy it and paste it into another layer so it can be isolated like so. And what we're gonna do is simply hide the layer with the hair strand, and I'm gonna simply delete the hair strand from the original picture. So I'm gonna do that right there. Just do a rough selection around the strand. Click on generative fill, and as you can see now, the hair is gone. And if you enable the visibility of the other layer, the hair will come back. So now just do that with all of the other strands. So once you're done with all that, it's supposed to look like that without all of the hair layers, and where you put them all visible, as you can see, they are all separated. Now what I'm going to do is simply save this Photoshop file and open After Effects, create a new project, and I'll import my Photoshop file inside of my After Effects project. Now what I'm going to do is simply download the hair rig script. It's totally free. The link will be in the description. And now the thing that I'll do is simply click on this button right there to isolate a specific strand. And I'm going to click right there to have a white background. And now I'm going to pull out the puppet pin tool, and I'm going to do some pins like so. I'm going to go on file, and then I'm going to go on script and click on hair rig. Click on run, and it is supposed to give me something like this. And as you can see, if I go into the FX control of the hair strand, I can actually control the frequency and the amplitude. Okay, so now what you can do is simply do that for the rest of the hair strand. So I'm going to do that with this one. Puppet pin tool, add some pins, and keep in mind that the more pins you add, the more flexible the hair strand will be. So yeah, now I'll just do that for the entire head. It's actually really simple to do, and it saves a lot of time, and you don't have to do it all manually like back in the days, because this script is really a lifesaver, especially for people who does animation instead of After Effects. I really recommend this script right there. And here is the final result. It's not too bad. I really like it, and it was pretty easy to do. The longest part was the masking, obviously, but after that, once you go inside of After Effects, you just start putting some puppet pins here and there, click on the button, and the animation is done for you. Today I'm going to show you guys how you can animate pieces of clothing inside of After Effects and Photoshop. So we're going to start in Photoshop by simply masking out the parts of the clothing that we want to mask, and then we're going to go inside of After Effects to animate it all. So first of all, I'm going to focus on the scarf. So what I'm going to do is pick the selection tool right there, and I'm going to select the scarf. And as you can see there, it's a bit rough to select it, so I'm just going to do this the traditional way. And then I'm going to simply do a copy and paste, so it's isolated into another layer. Now what I'm going to do is simply hide this and go back to my original picture and simply make a rough selection around the scarf that we wanted. And what we're going to do is simply click on generative fill, click on generate, and this will simply delete the scarf from the original picture. As you can see, it's kind of messing things up a bit. You can simply just keep on generating it. Simply just fix the imperfections right there, select them, click on generative fill to fix them. Okay, now that our scarf is separated from the original picture, as you can see, what we can do is simply try to polish it even more. So as you can see right there, it's imperfect, so we can still try to fix it. Now what you can do is simply save your Photoshop project, and you can open an After Effects project. Simply create yourself a new composition. Now what you're gonna do is simply go ahead and import your Photoshop project inside of After Effects. Okay, now it's gonna give you the separated layers like so. And what you're gonna do is simply take the scarf, use the puppet pin tool, and simply add some pins from the superior part to the inferior part like this. Now you're gonna run the script called hair rig. I'll leave the link in the description. As you can see, it's a really simple panel. Just click on run, and it will give you an animation. And as you can see, you got a piece of clothing that is animating itself. Make it a little bit less faster. What you can do is simply go on layer and go to the FX panel. You can simply change the frequency right there. I'll put it at 0.3, and as you can see, we got a scarf animation. It was pretty simple and easy to do. If you guys want, you may already been in a situation where you want to animate something in 3D, but it just doesn't sit right because it looks like the floor is non-existent and the character is just floating in the air. But let me show you guys how to fix it and how to create a floor in 3D inside of After Effects. So first, what you'll need to do is simply select your subject and put it into another layer. So from now, this is nothing new. So let's just fix the mask a little bit more. Now simply make sure to delete the character from the original picture, like so. Now this is the important part. So now what you're gonna have to do is simply select the wall like this, and you're gonna put it into a different layer, and you're gonna delete the wall from the original layer. So just like that. Now there's only the floor, but the floor we're gonna have to extrude it. So simply do that, Control T, and simply shift stretch the floor like that. It looks weird now, but it'll make sense after we import it all inside of After Effects. So this is how your Photoshop file should look. Simply save it. Simply import your Photoshop file inside of After Effects. Now what you're gonna have to do is simply make everything in 3D. So you can do that with 3D5 Pro. Link will be in the description. With this plugin, you can simply make everything in 3D with the button of a click, like this. Now what we're gonna do is simply pull out the second view, and you're gonna have to select the floor and simply try to rotate it like so. Make sure it's at a 90 degrees angle, like that. Now what you're gonna have to do essentially is try to navigate into your second view to see what's going on back there. And now what you're gonna have to do is simply try to make it stick to the wall, like this. Now once this is stuck to the wall, you can go back to your first view, and you can stretch the floor texture like so. And let's just adjust the camera a little bit. And you can also make sure that your character is standing on the floor. So as you can see, he's not staying on the floor at all. So pull out the second view again and try to make him stand on the floor. As you can see, he's clipping through the floor, so he is in fact standing on the floor. Just make sure to scale him down a little bit. Now, if you want to add a little bit more of realism, you're gonna have to add some shadows. So let's do that right now. You can simply duplicate the subject and rotate him like this at the 90 degrees angle, so he can be linked to the floor. Like that. Now do a right click and go on layer style. Now what you're gonna have to do is simply click on color overlay and make sure to put the color overlay to black. Now simply put a Gaussian blur effect to the shadow like this. And you can play around with the opacity if you want to. Now, when you're gonna have to animate your camera, when you put it, and now when you're gonna have to animate your camera, it will simply look realistic because you have a floor. I'm gonna show you guys how you can save up your time and speed up your workflow with 3D camera animation presets. And these presets are actually in my plugin that is called Automotion 3D. And this is a whole plugin where it allows you to control your 3D camera with a couple of clicks. And it also allows you to import and control keyframes really easily. So let's say that I already have a 3D scene set up right there. What I want to do is simply making an animation, but I'm in a hurry, I'm in a rush, and I don't want to fight with keyframes right now. So all you have to do is simply pull out Auto Motion and select your 3D camera right there, and simply select a preset, an animation preset that you wanna pick. I'll pick the zoom in preset and click on apply animation. And if you play your animation, here you go. Just like magic, you have an animation that was imported inside of your project. Now you can always modify it simply by switching the sliders like this. And as you can see now, the animation will last longer. And if you want the animation to go further, simply pull the strength up like so. Okay, and if you want the animation to be smoother, you can simply click on this button right there. As you can see, the animation was way smoother, and you can make a combination of multiple presets. So let's say I want to do a tilt up, simply click on it, then click on apply, and simply modify it to your liking. So I'll put it like that. Okay, and I'll just make them closer like that. Okay, put the strength down a little bit. And I'll end up with a zoom in. Like so. Now you can simply clean up your keyframes and click on F9. So this is what it gave me, and as you can see, it didn't really took me too much time because I use all of the presets of my plugin, and because of that I can actually save a lot of time, and I'll be able to finish projects even faster and save a lot more time and money. Today I'm going to show you guys how to make realistic shakes inside of After Effects while doing your 3D animations. It's actually pretty simple, but a lot of people really don't get it, and it is unfortunate because a realistic camera shake can really make your animation a lot more immersive and realistic. So today I'm going to show you guys how you can do it. It's pretty easy and simple to do, so let's dive deep into it right now. The first method is to simply go ahead and click on the 3D camera, go to position. Now simply alt click on the clock right there and add a wiggle expression. Now a lot of people know this, but then there's another step afterwards that people usually skips. So simply make your wiggle expression like you want. So your first value is basically just the speed of the shake. So I usually put it at a small number like this. And the second value is simply how intense the shake will be. So I'll put it at 20. And as you can get a little something, but I want the shake to be a little more prominent. So we're going to put it at 30. Now the next step is simply do the same, but for the rotation. So simply copy this expression right there, click on your camera and click on R. Now on the orientation, you're gonna alt click the clock and you're gonna paste the same expression. And as you can see, this is a hot mess. So what you can do is simply tone down the amount of shake that you have. So I'll put it at 5, and for the speed I think I'll put it at 0.5. So as you can see, it's still not perfect, so what I can do is simply keep on trying to make it as good as possible by changing the expressions. So this was the first method. Now the second method is actually really simpler. So I'm simply gonna remove all of these expressions, and I'm gonna simply use my plugin. Link is in the description. This plugin is actually the plugin that I use all the time for my 3D animations inside of After Effects, because it literally converts every single layers into 3D, create a 3D camera, and simply places everything with the power of a single click. It is actually a game changer, and it also comes with a realistic camera shake option. So all you have to do is simply click on that right there. As you can see, you already have a smooth and realistic camera shake motion. So if you're not satisfied with this, you can still play around with the frequency and the intensity. It's however you want. You can change it to your liking, and it's pretty easy since you can change it all up with the sliders. And that's how I make my camera shakes that realistic every single time. The link of the plugin to correctly use depth of field while doing a 3D animation inside of After Effects. So as you can see right there, I got an animation going on made with my plugin, link in the description. And as you can see, it looks good because of the depth of field. Let's say that I don't want to add the depth of field no more. Let's see how it looks now. It looks a lot less polished and less realistic. But a good use of depth of field can really change a simple scene to a really good looking scene. So today I'm going to simply explain you the basics of how to use it and how you can switch things up depending on the vision you want to go for in your video. So if you select your 3D camera and you click on that little button right there and go ahead and click on camera options, you can see all of the depth of field options available to you. So what you're gonna have to do is simply turn it on like that. And now the first setting is simply the focus distance. So the name is pretty self-explanatory. The smaller the amount is, the closer the focus distance will be. So now the focus of the camera is the object that is at a small distance from it. But if I put the number up, as you can see, the focus is on the object that is further from the camera. And also you can keyframe those values. So let's say I want to do a little focus on the guy, then on the woman, then on the guy again. Let's do 3 keyframes. And on the middle keyframe, I'll just screen the number up like this. And let's see how it looks. So as you can see, the focus was on the guy first. Then the focus got on the girl, then back on the guy. So as you can see, you can really do some crazy effects with this, so keep that in mind. And now the aperture is how distorted you want the blur to be. So as you can see, if I put the value up like this, the blur will be more prominent, and you can also change the distortion of the blur simply by going in the iris shape and simply playing around with the shapes that you like the most. Now the blur level will just simply give you a better control of the overall blur of the depth of field, and you can simply change it to your liking. It's pretty. And now all of these iris settings are really up to you and how you want your blur shapes to be formed. So I'm not gonna go in details over there, but I'm gonna simply go in detail over the highlight gains. So as you can see, the lighter parts of the blur section of the video will simply glow when they're out of focus, and this effect right there really makes a huge difference, and that's because it can give you that cinematic look that everybody is looking for. And personally, I just suggest you to always do it. You can also change the threshold to adjust the brightness of it. Don't do too much though, because it can really look bad if you do too much, so just keep it at a regular number depending on your situation. And you got the highlight saturations. A lot of these effects won't really make a big difference, but in different type of scenes, if you know how to use these different tools according to your animation, it can really make a big difference and make your animation a lot more cinematic and realistic than it already is. And I'm going to show you guys how you can make smooth and clean transitions with the 3D camera inside of After Effects. I'm going to start with a Photoshop file, and I'm simply going to separate my subject from my background. It's pretty easy to do, so I'm just going to do that quickly. So now that this is done, what I'm going to do is simply delete my characters from the original background. So I'm simply going to make a rough selection like that. And I'm simply going to click on generative fill. Alright, and I'm going to merge the generative fill layer with the original background layer. And then I'm simply going to save this Photoshop file and go inside of After Effects. And now what I'm going to do is simply import my Photoshop file inside of After Effects. And once this is done, I'll simply start by converting everything in 3D with the 3D5 Pro, link in the description. And now what I'm going to do is simply try to adjust the camera correctly. So I'm going to put it a little bit far away. I'm really going to scale the background up. So I'm going to click on this button right there. Now what I'm going to do is a simple animation. So I'll just start by pulling the camera this way. Okay, then I'm going to simply make a keyframe right there. And then another one right there. Alright. Now I'm going to click on these keyframes and click on F9 and make a simple graph. Alright, what I'm going to do is simply make a new solid layer, and I'm simply going to make it into a pre-composition. Now what I'm going to do is just copy the whole content of this pre-composition and put it into the new pre-composition. Like that. And now what I'm going to do is simply pick my 3D camera and just switch animation. So I'm simply gonna zoom it like so, and let's see how it looks. Alright, so I'll just put it like that, and now I'm gonna make another keyframe and position the camera like so, and I'll change the graph. So I'll just reset it by simply selecting all my keyframes, clicking on F9, and create a brand new graph like that. And now what I'm going to do is simply combine these two at the right moment. So this is the first clip, and I'm simply gonna add the second clip where it starts to speed up. So right there, I'm gonna add it like that. And this is how it looks. It was really easy and simple to do. I'm going to show you guys how to animate landscapes. So first thing first, we're going to go into Photoshop to separate our different layers. So what I'm going to do is simply try to separate the grass from the sky and the mountains. So I'm going to do just that right now. I'm going to make a whole selection like that with the character. And what you're going to have to do is simply click on Ctrl C then Ctrl V. It's going to separate the grass from the other rest of the picture. Now, go back to the original picture, make a rough selection around the specific piece that you just selected, and just make sure to not miss any pieces. And we're going to do that in order to delete it from the original picture to have a clean plate behind him. So this is good. So I'm simply going to merge my generative fill layer with my background. And what I'm going to do is simply also separate the mountains from the sky. Like that. As you can see, it has been separated. And what I'm going to do is simply just remove the mountain from the sky. Alright, so now our three main layers has been separated, so we can simply start saving our Photoshop file, and you can open an After Effects project. And what you're going to have to do is simply import your Photoshop project inside of it. Now what you can do is simply double click on the pre-composition, and as you can see, you got all of your layers already positioned. So what I'm going to do is simply convert everything into 3D. So I'm going to do just that with my plugin called 3D Pro. You can do it by hand, but I found it quicker this way. So I'm going to click on this. The link will be in the description, by the way, if you're interested. And now what I'm going to do is simply just adjust the room size and make the position of the camera a little bit closer. And now what I'm going to do is a simple animation. So I'm just going to zoom in like that. Okay. And then I'm going to pull out the Automation 3D plugin that is in the same bundle of 3D Pro. And I'm going to select the zoom out preset and simply just apply it to my animation. Let's see how it goes. It doesn't go as far as we want to, so let's pull the strength up a bit. Okay, and I'm simply gonna make it last longer. Okay, and now what I'm gonna do is simply click on this button right there to make the animation a lot smoother. And I'm gonna select a custom graph, like so. And I might even make it longer. And yeah, as you can see, it was pretty easy and simple to do, and the result is pretty good. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today I'm going to show you guys how you can animate complex things in your animations with AI only. And as you can see, this picture is the perfect example of what I'm talking about, because the background is actually really complex to animate because there's a lot of cloud, and if I would proceed to animate manually inside of After Effects, it would take me hours. But with the power of AI, I can now do it in a single click. So what I'm going to do is simple. So the first step will simply be isolate my subject. So I'm going to do just that. And I'm also going to take the ground. It will make my job easier. And I'm going to simply put it into another layer to isolate it. And as you can see, the mask is pretty rough, so I'm going to simply clean it up. Now what I'm going to do is simply go to the original picture, and I'm simply going to make a rough selection of the subject and the ground, and I'm simply going to try to delete them all. Once the selection is done, simply click on Generative Fill, click on Generate, and it will delete the subject from the background. As you can see, give me that as a result, but I don't like it, so I'm going to simply scroll through the results, and this is the closest thing to my vision, so I'm going to keep it, and I'm going to merge the layer to the background. Now what I'm going to do is simply download this picture right there. So I'm going to go ahead and export as a JPEG. Now I'm going to go to the Helio AI's website. This is where I'll do every single AI videos. and you're gonna have to click on create. Now what you're gonna have to do is simply import your picture right there. So do that, and as a prompt you can write big thunderstorm, and it's gonna try its best to create something as similar as possible. So I suggest you to make at least three videos. If you do that, you can have many options if you want to switch it up in the animations, or if you just want to see more results for you to pick for a final version. So now just wait until these generations get completed. And so the videos just got done generated, and as you can see, here are the results. So this is the first one. It's not bad, it's pretty good. This is the second one. The lightning effect is a bit choppy, so I don't think I'll be using it. And then I got this one right there. It's pretty realistic and I like it a lot. And then I got a fourth one. I think this is the best one, so I'm gonna keep it. So I'm simply gonna download it. Now what I'm gonna do is simply open my After Effects and create a new composition. I'm gonna import the video that I just generated. And now I'll simply try to make sure to download the PNG version of my subject. So I'll export it as a PNG like that. Now simply drag and drop it right there. And now as you can see, there's a huge gap in quality. It's normal, so just pick your video and search for the sharpen effect. You're gonna have to drag and drop it into the video and simply put the sharpen up like so. And as you can see, the quality is matching a bit more. And now what you're gonna have to do is simply go ahead and do the rest of your animation, because as you can see, now my background is animated and I don't have to worry about if it's gonna be too static or not. No, AI did it for me. Now I can simply turn on 3D Pro and turn everything into 3D and make a crazy animation with it like that. So let's say I want the camera to start right there. And by the way, if you guys want to have 3D Pro in your hands, don't hesitate to click on the link in the description. It will be there. You can get it with the Ultimate 3D Camera Bundle, which give you 2 plugins for 3D camera inside of After Effects, and it's really a cheat code for any animators. So as you can see, I made a simple animation, and yeah. So now I'm simply gonna make it smoother with a simple graph, and I'm gonna add a little shake animation just for the fun of it. And as you can see, I got my whole background that was animated with AI, and the result is pretty decent for an animation that I did in 30 seconds basically. I could spend more time on it, but it's just to show you guys how you can use AI to your advantage and how to work smarter and faster.
So surely you have seen these 3 viral reels inside of Instagram while scrolling, but you never bothered to do them because you thought it was too complicated to do, or because you was just lazy. But today I'm not only gonna show you how to do it, I'm gonna teach you the best and the fastest way to do it, because I got my secret technique that I always use while making 3D inside of After Effects, and it saves me hours. Stay tuned. So let's start by creating a new composition. I'll have a vertical composition like so. Now the first thing that I'll do is simply make my background. So I'll just create a solid layer. Okay, I'll keep it black, and I'm gonna add a gradient to it. Like that. And what I want to do with this gradient is simply just putting all of the 3 points up there like so, and put them all black. It only leaves me with this blue color that I like a lot. And now what I'm going to do is I'll simply go into Sketchfab and find a 3D model that I like this. I'm going to go down, click on download 3D model, and click on the GLB version right there. And I'm simply going to import it inside of my After Effects. Like this. And as you can see, it's kind of really small, but if I try to scale it up, as you can see, it just jumps around. So in order to fix that, what I'm going to do is simply go ahead and right click right there, create a null object, convert it into 3D, and simply just pick the swirl of the iPhone, place it into the null, and if I try to scale the null up, as you can see, it works perfectly. I'm just gonna simply place a text right there, and now what I'm gonna do is simply just add another text, but this time I'll make it a little less bigger, so I'm gonna scale it down. And now what I'm gonna do is simply just animate the phone in the rotation axis. So I'll just add some keyframes right there, and another set of keyframes right there,
and I'll try to set it straight at the second set of keyframes, like that. And as you can see, it's smooth animation. And now I just want to add a 3D depth effect, so I'm going to use 3D Pro, create a 3D scene, and try to reposition all of my elements correctly. Alright, so now I can make a simple 3D camera animation. So I'll just add 2 keyframes like so, and just start with the camera far away like this, and just close it up. Okay. I'm gonna click on the F9 to make the keyframe smoother, and I'll just create a graph. You can see it makes a cool social media type of 3D. It was really simple and easy to do, really quick. Today I'm going to show you guys how to create a whole entire 3D room inside of After Effects. No plugin will be needed, and it's pretty simple to understand and to do. So first of all, what you'll need to have is textures. You'll need to have textures of floors and walls to create the actual room. So I'll just scroll into the internet and take the textures that I want. Once you gathered all of the textures that you need for your room, all you can do is simply set up your 3D camera. So I'm just going to use my 3D Pro plugin to do that automatically with one click. It's in the description, by the way, if you're interested in that plugin. So as you can see, everything was set up. Now what I'm going to do is simply import my texture of the floor, and I'm simply going to convert it into 3D and simply rotate it like so at a 90 degrees angle. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is simply scale it up a little bit like so, and now I'm simply going to import the wall texture that I just downloaded. So now I'm just going to scale it down, convert it into 3D, and simply try to place it correctly. And switching from one view to 2 views will really help us understand the perspective of our scene. So just do that and simply work with a 2 perspective like this. You can also stretch your textures like so for it to fill up the whole composition and to match up with other textures. So I got my back wall right there. I'm gonna simply duplicate this layer right there and just do the side walls. Now I'm simply going to do a roof. So I'm simply going to duplicate this layer right there, and I'm simply going to rotate it like so. Alright, it doesn't look like much yet, but it's the beginning. This is only the foundation. So now what you're going to have to do is simply make sure to select all of your textures and place them under the 3D camera. So now if you want to navigate into your room, you can do it. And as you can see, you already have a 3D room, but it's not enough. So let's add some furnitures and 3D models to it. You can also stretch the floor texture if you think it's too small. Alright, now it's time to add 3D models to it all. So what I'm going to do is simply go into the internet and go into Sketchfab. It has a lot of free 3D models that are pretty good. So I'm simply going to download a couple of furnitures. So just search up the things that you want to search as a 3D model. Pick one, scroll down a little bit until you see download 3D model, and make sure to download the GLB format. This is the format that After Effects accepts without using 3D elements if you don't have it. Once you gathered all of your 3D models, what you're gonna have to do now is simply import them into your scene. So I'm simply gonna do that, and as you can see, a simple drag and drop is enough. So simply place it and position it into your After Effects scene. And now just do that all over again with all of your 3D models. So I'm simply gonna speed up this process right there. Okay, so now that you have placed all of your 3D models, what you're gonna have to do now is simply go ahead and right click right there and add a new light. This will add a little bit of realism to to your scene. Make sure to add a point light, and I'm simply gonna put the point light towards the ceiling lamp. And as you can see, when you scroll that thing down and go to light options, you can control the strength of the light like so. Alright, I'm gonna keep it at 50. You can also change the color of the light, put it yellow. I'm gonna add another light, and this time I'm gonna add a spotlight. I'll place it right there like that. And you can also change the intensity of this light and the way it reacts with the environment. So this seems okay. You can also put the corner angles a little bit bigger like this. Okay, so I'm satisfied with this. So now what I'm going to do is simply create a new null object. So I'm going to go to null object right there. I'm going to transform it into 3D. And now I'm going to simply select all of the things that I just imported like this. And I'm simply going to parent them to the null object. And like that, I can control the whole environment with this null. And why I did that is just for me to scale the environment as a whole for it to fit in the screen. Okay, and also to make it move. And I'll just make sure to extend the floor and the ceiling like so. Now let's start the animation. So first of all, you're gonna have to go to your 3D camera, click on P to pull out the position properties. Now you can do it the traditional way with the keyframes and everything. Everybody knows how to do this, but I'm gonna do it the fast way with my automation 3D plugin. So I'm simply gonna start off the animation like this, and I'm gonna simply do a zoom out. I'm gonna simply select the zoom out preset animation, and then I'm gonna apply it to my 3D camera. So it doesn't go far enough, so let's fix that. Okay, and I want it to last longer like so. Alright, okay, I'm simply gonna ease the keyframe by clicking this button right there, and makes the animation a lot smoother. Now I'll just place this keyframe a little bit at the center like so. And I'm gonna simply add a realistic 3D camera shake with my 3D5 Pro plugin. And just so you guys know, both of 3D5 Pro and Automation are two plugins that I created, and you can have them both with this ultimate 3D camera bundle for After Effects. This bundle will allow you to save a lot of time while doing 3D creations in After Effects, and it will allow you to save money if you buy it in bundle instead of just buying these plugins separately. So this is how it looks, and it's pretty smooth for an After Effects only animation. And yeah, all I'm simply gonna do is simply pre-compose it, and I'm gonna add some extra effects to it. Now the final result, as you can see, it's pretty clean and it gives me a really vintage look with this VHS filter that I just put on. What's good, everybody? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today I'm going to show you guys how you can incorporate 3D text inside of your animations with the brand new After Effects 2025 update. It's pretty easy and simple to do. So as you can see right there in my project, I got an animation already. And what I'm looking to do basically is simply putting the name of the continent in 3D. Like I want the 3D text to stand into the continent. So what I'm going to do is simply select the text tool right there. And I'm simply going to write whatever I want. So I'm going to write this. And now what I'm going to do is turn it into white. So now essentially what you'll have to do is simply turn it into 3D. Now, as you can see, it may disappear, but don't worry about it too much. To make it closer to your camera, just click on P and pull it towards you like that. Okay. Do it until it disappears. Then just pull it out slightly like that. And then what you're going to do is simply position it by simply rotating it like so. Now I'll just click on S and I'll scale it up like that. And now what I'm going to do is simply go ahead and click on Classic 3D. I'm going to click on Advanced 3D, and this is going to allow me to extrude the text. So now what I'm going to do is simply click on that, go on Geometry Options, and simply go and play with the extrusion depth setting right there. And as you can see, I just created a 3D text really quickly inside of After Effects. Now what I'm going to do is simply making a simple animation, a pop. Okay, like that. Now that's how it looks. As you can see, it's really simple and easy to do. The 3D text is actually doing the same motion of the 3D camera because now it's a 3D object. So this was a quick way to make a 3D text inside of After Effects. And if today I'm going to show you guys how you can utilize light and shadows inside of After Effects while working with 3D models. It can really change the whole mood of a 3D scene and make it a lot more cinematic and better looking than it already is. So let's start by creating a composition, and now we're going to search for 3D models. So simply search the website, it's called Sketchfab, link will be in the description. And what you're going to have to do is simply search for a 3D model in the search bar. Now simply select it, scroll down a bit and click on download, and make sure to get the GLB version. So simply click there and click on download like that. Now that you have all of your models, what you're gonna have to do is simply go ahead and import them inside of your After Effects project. So I'm simply gonna import the models that I downloaded. So I downloaded a skull and a sword. So I'm simply gonna scale them down, alright? And I'm gonna scale the sword down also. Okay, so now I'm simply gonna position everything correctly. So I'll play around with the scaling and the rotation. Now I'm simply gonna do a duplicate of the sword. And I'm gonna rotate it the other way. And now what I'm going to do is simply making a simple animation of the skull. So I'll simply animate the x-axis like so. At the first keyframe I'll put it down. And I'll also make an animation for the swords. And I'll make a rotation animation also. Okay, and I'll do the same for the other sword. Now what I'm going to do now is simply make it better with lighting. So I'm simply going to do that and click on new, then click on lights. And I'm going to make sure to click on spot. Now as you can see, the spotlight is directly in front of our object, so I'm going to simply pull out the 2 view and make sure it's in the custom view 1 so I can have a better control. Now I can simply position my spotlight however I want it to be, and I'll just position it like so. And if I click on the light settings and go to light option, I can just put my light stronger, and as you can see, it makes a much more dramatic effect on the whole 3D scene, and I think it just looked better. If you guys want, today I'm going to show you a quick trick you can do in After Effects while working with 3D. It's actually really simple and easy to do. This trick is simply moving multiple 3D elements with a single controller. So what I'm going to do is simply try to build a scene with some 3D models. So I'm just going to import like any type of 3D models. Okay, let's say I'm just going to try to place them correctly. Alright, so I'm just gonna do that like that. I'm not really trying to make something really fancy, it's just for the example and to show you guys this one trick. It's really useful and I use it all the time while working with big 3D scenes. Okay, so now I'm simply gonna import my 3D camera like that. Okay, 3D camera got imported. I'm simply gonna try to fix the heart position. I think he has gotten too far. And if you guys want to know how I imported the 3D camera that fast, I use my 3D Pro plugin. It's pretty easy and simple to use. The link will be in the description. All right, let's say it's good the way it is right now, and I just want to start moving all of these elements the same way at the same time. But as you can see, if I select them all and try to move them in a rotation way, it doesn't do what I want it to do. So the trick is really simple. Simply go ahead and click on new, click on select a null object. Now what you're gonna have to do is simply put the null right there, convert it into 3D. Now select all of your 3D model, and with this swirl right there, you're gonna have to drag it into the null. Now the null became the controller of all these 3D models. So as you can see, if I try to move them, they will move together. If I try to push them away, they will be pushed together. And if I try to rotate them, as you can see, it is the rotation we were looking for. So that was a quick trick, a quick video to show you guys that After Effects has a lot of good features for 3D animations and everything. Today I'm gonna show you guys how you can animate any single pictures or designs for your album covers with AI. It's actually really simple and pretty easy to do. Anybody can do it with this website called LUO AI. So now what you're gonna have to do is simply create an account and go ahead and click on create. Now what you're gonna have to do is simply search for a design, or it can even be a design that you created. Now once you have your picture that you downloaded, what you're gonna have to do is simply click on this button right there. Go ahead and search for your picture. Now what you're gonna have to do is simply write a simple prompt of the action that you want your picture to do. Now you can change the model. I'm gonna keep it at 1:2V, and for the quantity you can put 2, and I'm simply gonna start generating by simply clicking on this right there. So as you can see, it started generating 2 AI videos for me. Those 2 videos will be different, and you will simply have to pick up the best for you. So now these 2 AI videos are ready, so let's check them out right now. So that's one they give me. I'm not really satisfied with this one, so I'm gonna check out the second one. Yeah, I like this one a lot more. And I also did the third one. This one is not bad. I could combine this one and this one right there. So what I'm gonna do is simply download the third one and the second one, and I'll simply import it into After Effects and try to make a full animation with these 2 AI animations. Simply import your videos inside of After Effects. Now what you're gonna have to do is simply make sure to scale them all up. So I'm gonna do just that. So now what I'll do is simply make sure to have a good transition between these 2 videos for it to look smooth and natural. So what I'm gonna do is simply try to make the first one overlap. So I try to make them overlap, but in a smooth way. So as you can see, it was not really smooth. So what I'm gonna do is simply play with the opacity. At the first keyframe, I'm gonna put it at 0. Then when I'm gonna go a few frames forward, I'm gonna put it at 100%, like so. Let's see how it looks now. Yeah, that's a lot cleaner. Now what I can do is simply pre-comp this animation right there and just start looping it all over again. Okay, now I'll just duplicate this one right there. Now I'll create a new adjustment layer, and I'll pull out the brightness and contrast effect, put it right there, and I'm simply gonna increase the values at this spot right there between the transition. I could make the transition a little bit faster for it to be a little bit more seamless. And as you can see, I got a whole animation with just AI. It's actually pretty insane to do, and it was actually pretty easy. The result is good, and I actually see this being a good method for animating faster and being more creative with the way you edit your projects. So today I'm going to show you guys how to make multiple objects morph into each other with AI. We will be using the website called Pixelverse in this video, and I'll show you guys step by step on how to do it. So once you're in the website, simply go ahead and click on create. Now you're going to go on transitions. Now you're going to click on the first one. You're going to import your first picture. And this is the one for me. And then you're going to click on the second slot. and you're gonna import your second picture. Then simply click on create and wait. As you can see, it gives you that as an animation. You can download it, and we're not done yet. What you're gonna do now is just put the second picture into the second slot like this, and you're gonna introduce a fourth picture into the second slot like that, and just click on create, and it gives that to you. So now what I'm gonna do is simply just import the two videos that are downloaded inside of After Effects. So I'm just gonna import them right there. And now what I'm gonna do is just simply position them, and now I'll just place the second video right after the first one. As you can see, it's actually pretty smooth and clean, and you can also trim the video up to have it move a little bit faster or to be a little bit smoother. So I'm going to do that right now. And if you want to have a perfect loop, what you can do is simply just go back to the Pixelverse website and choose the picture of your last image and go back and put it at the first slot. And then at the second slot, what you're going to do is simply put the picture of your first ever image. So this is it. Now simply click on generate, download it, go back to our After Effects project, and simply drag and drop it. Just try to adjust it correctly. Okay, so now I just scaled everything up, and let's see the final result. So as you can see, the loop is not really well done. So let me just fix it at the end. So I just have to scale it a little bit down. Like that, I think. And that was actually pretty easy and simple to do. So today I'm gonna show you guys how you can transform your scene into this with this really insane VHS plugin that is totally free. I'll leave the link in the description for you guys to download it. And now once it is downloaded, all you can do is simply search it in your FX and preset search bar and simply apply it to your adjustment layer. I'll just do that right now. I'll just apply it to my adjustment layer. And now as you can see, there's a lot of settings. So I'll go over all of these settings with you guys. So this setting right there just makes the saturation higher or lower, basically. So if you want more colors, just tune it all the way up. And I think the VHS kind of era add a lot more colors, so it's only smart to put it all the way up, but it's up to you. And the composite noise, as the name says, it just add more noise to your liking. And to be honest, you could just put it at 80%, or I'll leave it at 70%. And the frequency is how much is gonna appear per second in this. And now for the snow, this is simply the detail of the noise and how you want it to look like. For the snow is simply if you want it to be in small parts like this, or if you want it to be in lines. And I think I prefer the small parts. It makes a more realistic vibe in my opinion, so I'm gonna leave it like that. And also, if you want this broken VHS border at the bottom, you can simply go ahead and go to the edge switching and pull this up like that, and it's gonna make this broken type of VHS effect at the bottom, and I really like it. And it looks like it was really recorded on a VHS or filmed on a CRT screen. It's really cool, and I like this plugin so much because it lets you tweak with all of the little details to make your VHS filter as realistic as possible. So for the regions, what it does simply is it makes those little lines. I don't know if you can notice, and if you put the frequency up, it will fix the screen a little bit more. I don't know how to explain it, but I guess you can see it in the screen. And the luma noise, I think it's self-explanatory. It's just noise. I'm not gonna play around with it because I don't really like this effect personally, but you can do whatever you want. And the chroma noise, I like it a lot. It adds a bit more of a realistic aspect to the overall scene. You can also play around with the sharpen and the edge waves if you're into that, but I'm not really into that edge wave type of thing. Maybe a little bit. It adds a bit more realism, but yeah. So these were the main settings that I would use for a realistic kind of VHS look into my videos. There's a lot more settings that I didn't go over because you can experiment on your own, but this was a little presentation of this really good plugin that is totally free on the internet that can really change your projects. And also, if you guys